is known as a devoted family man. He is a disciple of Christ in this world, also a soldier of God in the unseen spiritual world, physical world, the unseen spiritual world, the physical world, the unseen spiritual world. An enormous amount of people are being escorted and enslaved by unseen demons. The physical world. Physical world, unseen spiritual world. Daniel's atheist colleagues in the physical world. Every demon who enslaves the people pulls back in terror from Daniel as he goes past them. Some demons use people to stir up unreasonable hatred of Daniel.
Shalom, Shalom Israel. I am the brother Yawana from the Great Millstone, Arizona camp, coming back at y'all with Lord's will, another edifying lesson. First and foremost, as always, before I start, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and infinite glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachach Warash. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone, our teachers. Shalom to you brothers pushing and teaching His truth across the four winds of this earth. And as always, peace, blessings, and many salutations be to you sincere Akyama Akwath, you brothers, along with you few sisters, who are given all diligence in these last days. Right, through the mercy and grace of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, through His only beloved begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, coming back with another in-transit lesson. And this lesson is more so going to be a testimony off of a spiritual encounter that I had with what I believed was a demon. And this was almost like a little over a week ago. And I was talking to a brother about it last night, and it was just kind of on my spirit, man. I figured that I could turn the encounter into edification, Lord willing, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Because basically, I was, I came home from work, I'm going to sleep. And, for those of you that don't know what sleep paralysis is, pretty much, you're like you're in some kind of, a state where you're awake. You're like between being awake and being half asleep, and you can't move, right? So I was like stuck in like a sleep paralysis dream, right? To where, I was like stuck just laying on my side, and I could just hear within the apartment, right, that I was, laying within, that there was footsteps running all around. It sounded just like a single set, like just one person was running around the apartment. And it kind of tripped me out because the footsteps had, stopped for a second, and then next thing you know, I heard footsteps running like right to where my head was. And that, once they got too close, I had woke up, out of the paralysis. And I'm fully awake, and I'm looking around, and I had, I perceived it was a spirit, so I had, prayed, I rebuked it, and I went back to sleep. And as I went back to sleep, after praying and rebuking that, particular, thing that I thought, to be a demon, I had got back into a sleep paralysis state, and all I could do was move my hands. And instantly when I entered the state, I felt that there was something around, right, some type of spirit or demon that was within the apartment or just around me. And I felt, like I was in danger, man. I felt like something was trying to harm me or attack me. Like I felt it. And, as I just started like trying to fight out of the paralysis or whatever the demon was with my hands, but I didn't see anything. So I stopped fighting it, and I just started praying like, very heavily, to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. And, as I started praying more and more, the feeling got more and more intense, to where, I really was afraid. And as I became more afraid, I prayed even harder, to Yahweh Shem Shai. And next thing you know, as I'm praying, middle of me praying, I look to my right, and to the right of me, there's a like a sliding glass door window, and there's usually like blinds in front of the window, to where you have to open the blinds and you can see outside the window. But for whatever reason in the dream, there was like almost no blinds there, and I could just see, outside, right through the glass. And right through the glass, on the other side of the glass, looking at me, was like a 7-foot tall man, but it was just like an all shadow, like an all black shadow, but it was like a man, but he was just like a shadow, and he was very, very muscular, man. That's something that had stood out to me, as I was, staring at this, entity or whatever this was, which again, I believe to have been a demon. And, as I saw that, this thing is towering over me as I'm laying down, staring at me through the window, and as I saw that, I became afraid, and I just prayed even harder, man. I really started praying to Yahweh Shem Shai, begging the Lord to help. And eventually I had woke up out of the paralysis. And when I had woke up, something that was real strange, man. Both my ears were really ringing like loud for a solid couple of minutes, right? Which, was strange. But nevertheless, the reason why I'm even giving this testimony is because, the things that we, this path is very spiritual, man, that we're on. And I might as well just get it. Okay, because these things that we go through, some, average person, it might, make them feel crazy. And sometimes you do feel crazy dealing with these different demonic attacks, man. Okay, because that's, basically what that was, This is Ephesians. But see, the Lord is very merciful, man, because the Lord didn't allow whatever that spirit was, to touch me. It's like that glass was like that separator, which obviously it just wasn't the glass, but there was something that was keeping that spirit, from touching me or doing anything to me, and that was really Yahweh Shem Shai. Okay, this is Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 10, and it reads, "Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of Yahweh, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." You see that? And we battle all of these different things, man. Okay, and it's not a joke. It's not a game. It's not something that we just say to say it. No, it's real what we're fighting against, man. Okay, the scriptures say in Isaiah, "He that departeth from evil maketh himself a prey." Okay, when you turn from wickedness, which is a thing pleasing unto the Lord, the left-hand side of Yahweh Shem Shai, which is all the demons, right, and the evil angels, they see that you departed from darkness, and they're going to try to do their best, right, to fulfill their job, which is to get you to depart from that light, okay, by sowing, thoughts of negativity in your mind, thoughts of doubt. The Lord might give them permission to take certain things away in your life to see if you'll fold and keep the faith. All right, so, we battle against, against spiritual opponents, and the only way that you can even fight these spiritual opponents is using, right, spiritual weapons. Okay, having on the armor, right, applying these scriptures, man, praying, fasting unto Yahweh Shem Shai, because that's really the only way to get rid of these things, right, and to fight back. And I took that, as in that paralysis state, me trying to swing was me trying to take a carnal approach to fight the demons. But then I realized, man, I have to pray. Like I have to really pray against this, because this is like something trying to attack me. All right. You see, so when you come to serve the Lord, right? Hey, you're going to be tested, man, in various different ways, and some of those ways, right, is going to be, spiritual attacks. Okay, where demons are gonna try to mess with you. They might even physically hurt you, man. Okay, just like the beloved elder from, the Dallas church. He was wrestling a demon in his sleep, and the demon snapped his arm, and kept on asking him before he snapped his arm, who's gonna heal him. And the brother, kept on saying the Lord's gonna bring the healing. The Lord's gonna bring the healing, and eventually, the demon got the brother in an arm bar and snapped his shoulder. And in real life, his shoulder actually, snapped, or his arm snapped, something to that effect. It was pretty severe. But, eventually the Lord brought the healing to the brother, and he said it feels like it never even happened. Okay, that's just one example out of many examples of, us fighting a spiritual war. Okay, This is real that, what we fight, brothers. All right, and Apostle Paul is going into it. I'm going to read this in the NLT, right on the right-hand side, and it reads, "For we are not fighting against flesh and blood enemies, but against evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world, against mighty powers in this dark world, and against evil spirits in the heavenly places," right? And I might even splice together this video, that I seen. It's like an animation of a man, and it shows two different perspectives. It shows him just walking, in life, and walking down the street, people, in groups, people passing by, people just, doing their daily day-to-day things. But then it also shows another perspective where that same man's walking down that same street amongst the same people, but it shows it on a spiritual side, and whereas you only seen, regular people, physically, spiritually, when it showed it, there's demons everywhere, man. Demons on people. Okay, demons passing by, demons chilling at the top of the building, looking out the window, watching you, man. And when you're a servant of the Lord, and you have this word within you, right? The word is known as what? A light. Okay, a lamp unto our feet and a light unto our path. Psalms 119 and 105. So when you're really in this truth and you walk with this word on your mind on a day-to-day, you're walking in a light. Okay, and these demons, these dark forces, these evil forces, they see that light. Okay, you're like a light bulb. You're like a shining LED light amongst, broken light bulbs, man. And so the demons, they see you, and what are they gonna do, man? They're gonna try to do their best, to put you to the test. All right, now, and Yahweh Shai, warned of this, right, to one of his disciples, right, in Luke chapter 22, and verse 31, it reads, "And the Lord said, Simon, Simon, behold, Satan hath desired to have you, that he may sift you as wheat." You see that? So what did Yahweh Shai tell one of his disciples? He said, look, Satan desires to have you. Satan longs for you, man. Okay, there's counsels in heaven. These different spirits, give suggestions unto the Lord on how they can get you to crumble and how they can get you to fall. And the Lord says, go and do it. But see, that next verse says, that the Lord had prayed for him, that his faith didn't fail, that his strength didn't fail. Let me read that next verse. Verse 32, "But I have prayed for thee, that thy faith fail not." You see that? So your Lord willing will of the elect, man. As long as we keep our mind on Yahweh Bashim Al Shai, they will always supply us with the right amount of strength, faith, and spiritual power to overcome these situations, to overcome these demons. Okay, because it's not easy to deal with these things, man. And if you're not applying, the spiritual tools that the Lord gave you, when you face these attacks, you'll be overcome, bro. I could say right now that I almost felt like when I was in that paralysis before I saw that demon, I felt something was around, and it's almost like I was exposed to it, But the only thing that I was close to it, the only thing I could think to do was pray, man. That was my first instinct, because that's the only way. You see, Lord willing, of the elect, man, Yahweh Shai prayed for us that our faith would not fail. Okay, and that's why when you overcome certain things, always give the Lord his thanks, his praise, and his glory, man, because the Lord's the one that got you through it. He brought you to it, and he also got you through it, because Satan desires to have us, man. All right, that he may sift us. And we're going to this word sift in the Greek. It's the word siniazo, which is Strong's G4617. And it says to sift, shake and deceive, figuratively by inward agitation, to try one's faith to the verge of overthrow. So, Satan is going to give you that inward agitation, to try your faith to the verge of overthrowing you, man. Okay, and that inward agitation is going to happen a lot more as each day passes and we get closer to the return of our Lord Yahweh Shai. As Yahweh Shai's return becomes closer and closer, we're going to face many trials, man. And the trials are going to be intensified, and they're going to be harder. Okay, the financial troubles are going to be harder. Okay, you're going to deal with more hell at work. You're probably going to catch more hell in your health. If that's, some brothers got the lot where they might not catch hell financially, but they might catch it physically, man. And, bodily ailments and pains and aches. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Or you may not deal with all that, but you're getting attacked spiritually, man, by demons within your mind. Okay, physically, in your sleep. All right, and all these things are tests to see if your faith is going to remain solid, man. Okay, because at the end of the day, that's what you have to keep in mind is, that we are in a fight, and you have to fight for your own self, man. You have to keep the faith for yourself. Okay, We're all going to go through these things, man. And that's why I wanted to share this testimony, because there may be brothers and sisters of you out there that are dealing with these things. And it will make you feel like you're like, man, that maybe the next 2 days after I had this account, I felt like I was on a spiritual high, you know? But then shortly after, a couple days later after that, I started catching so much hell, bro, in my mind, you know? I couldn't get I was dealing with like some type of extreme fatigue to where I felt tired all throughout the day, all throughout the next day for days. And then on top of dealing with that tiredness, I wasn't even able to go to sleep. I was like almost up for 2-3 days at a time, man. I feel like I was literally going crazy. But the scriptures say, you know, that when you go through these things, to do what? Let's read it. Right? To do this and also to remember something. This is 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 8. It says, be sober. Matter of fact, I'm going to read this in a NLT on the right-hand side. 1 Peter 5 and 8, it says, stay alert, right? Be sober, man. Be aware, man, of your surroundings. Man, scriptures talk about walking circumspectly, man, meaning look around, pay attention. Pay attention to your environment. Pay attention to yourself. Pay attention to the people you're around. All right? Watch out for your great enemy, the devil. He prowls around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour. Hey, these demons are not just sitting against a wall, you know, drinking cans of soda, man, just chilling. They are working. They are servants of the Lord. Okay, they are constantly, you know, walking around looking, you know, to who, you know, who's weak, or who they can, you know, whose mind they can, you know, tap into, you know, to get them to go off and into evil, man. All right. It says, stand firm against him, right? Stand firm against him, against these demons, man. As we just read in Ephesians, man. Hey, be strong in the Lord. Remember, brothers, when you go into these things, this is all a part of the path, man. This is a part of the straight gate. Okay? So don't sit there and tell yourself, oh, man, oh, God, I'm not going to. Those are demons fucking with you, man. Telling you not going to make it. In the midst of these trials, telling you that the Lord's not hearing you. The Lord's not seeing you. The Lord doesn't care for you. Right? You know, your prayers are vain. Or you're going to hear a lot of them things in your mind, man. And it might sound like your own voice, but does this your flesh and Satan working together, man. And we have to stand firm against him, and even against ourselves, and be strong in your faith. Be strong in your faith, man. Remember that your Christian brothers and sisters all over the world, right? You know, Christian, you know, those of us who believe, those of us that, you know, Lord, you know, brought into this knowledge, right? All over the world are going through the same kind of suffering you are. See that? So stand firm, man. Hey, be attentive. Be attentive. If that's the right word. Be alert of your surroundings, of yourself. Okay, and stand firm against these demons. And remember that what you're going through, hey, all of us are going through the same thing, man. Okay, we're all going through similar trials and temptations. Okay, but we can't be discouraged by them, all right? Because all these things come upon us, right? You know, as the Lord, you know, proving us worthy for Himself, right? And Lord willing, we endure, you know, all these trials and all these temptations and afflictions. You know, make it to the end, man. We're going to be honored with a golden way, with a crown, man, with salvation, with the sure mercies of David, bro. You know, and that's what we all look forward to. But again, you know, hey, these demons are out here, man, and they are real. Okay, that's why right now is the time to, you know, lock in, you know, in the spirit. And I say this to myself, man, because, you know, with all these encounters that were going on, I feel like it kind of set me back, man. You know, so Salakia, if the videos weren't coming out, you know, as hot, you know, and consistent. You know, I do apologize. I ask for forgiveness, first and foremost, of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, right? And, you know, Lord willing, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai will keep that, you know, oil within me hot, man. He'll keep that fire within me burning fervently. And I pray that prayer for all you Akim or Akwaf that are out there, all right? Because this walk is not easy, all right? It's very hard, but the thing is, it's going to get harder, right? So it's important that, you know, as time goes on, as days pass, we're getting closer and closer to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, because that's the only way to overcome these, you know, these trials, right? Especially these demonic attacks. It's the only way, man. Okay, it's the only way. Right, this is the book of Luke, chapter 18 and verse 1 in the NLT on the right-hand side, and it reads, one day Yahushua told his disciples, let me read that again. One day Yahushua told his disciples a story to show that they should always pray and never give up. And that's what we have to remember, what Yahushua said right here. Very important, man, to pray always and never give up, man. Even if you feel like them demons are really getting, you know, beating you up, and you may be even losing, because sometimes you lose, man. We don't always win. right? But, like brothers say, man, we need to be really fighting, to the point where, we don't, we're not losing as much. You shouldn't be losing all the time. You should be overcoming these demons, man, through your faith in Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah. Okay, but even if you think that you're not strong enough, or them demons are trying to persuade you that you can't rebuke them, hey, don't give up them prayers, man. Don't give up praying unto Yahweh Hashem Shah. Okay, because there's a picture where it shows two men digging in a mine, and one man, if he would have just laid 2 more hits on the coals, he would have got the diamonds. But what did he do? He turned around and gave up. Whereas one man, he kept on plowing, even though the diamonds may have been far away. So here it is. The dude got close to getting the diamonds after all this digging, and then he stopped. Whereas the other man just kept on going, and eventually he reached the diamonds. So you never know that you could be right on the verge of a major breakthrough, man. It's just that continual prayer. As the scriptures say, the fervent prayer, the continual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much, meaning it has much power, right? That consistent, believing, faithful prayer, right? Not stopping, not giving up. The Lord sees that, man. The Lord sees that you're dealing with demons in your mind. The Lord knows that what we're dealing with down here. He's not ignorant of what we're going through. So the Lord sees you dealing with them demons and, doubts and, getting physically plagued, but you're still praying. You're still offering up the prayers. The Lord takes delight in that, man. Okay, because that you're showing true faith. You're showing that you're not going to stop serving the Lord because of your circumstance, because of how hard it is, man. And the Lord takes pleasure in that. And eventually the Lord will allow you to overcome your situation, and then he elevates you and increases you to another level. You see, and that's the time we're in, man, where a lot of these trials, a lot of these tests, and even a lot of these demonic attacks that we face, what they're going to do is it's going to push us to that point of faith that the Lord, to the faith where the Lord wants us, man. Right? And then eventually the Lord is going to continue to increase you, man. You're going to become great. You're going to become mighty in the spirit. All right. And Lord willing, that, that's the reality for every single one of us. Okay. And I really didn't have, too much, as precepts as far as, this lesson that I was sitting here, really all day I was meditating on, doing a lesson on this, a testimony, okay, on these demons that we're facing are real. All right. And it's going to take, faith and consistent prayer, right? With the mindset of never giving up to overcome these things, man. All right. Because it gets hard. It gets challenging. But at the end of the day, we've counted the cost and we understand that this is part of the path, man. All right. This is part of Lord willing becoming the Lord's elect, man, dealing with these things. All right. But Lord willing, Yahweh Hashem Shai, grants us worthy to be his elect, man. We have already overcame, at the end of the day, man. But hey, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying and comforting to the souls of you hopeful elect. As always, before I close off, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and infinite glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachach Warash. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone, our teachers. Shalom to you brothers pushing and teaching this truth. Until next time, Lord's will, I say shalom, stay strong, and keep the faith. Shalom.